following is a recap of the horror movie Evil Dead Rise, so spoilers warning. Teresa is sitting alone reading on a pier when she is scared by a drone flying by. It turns out her cousin's boyfriend Caleb was pranking her. She gets mad at him and asks him why he's not taking care of his sick girlfriend Jessica. The man, who seems fed up, says that he gave her medicines and she was sleeping. Teresa goes inside the creepy cabin to check on her cousin and finds her sleeping. She sits in a corner and starts reading her book. Jessica begins to talk in her sleep and suddenly sits down. She begins saying out loud passages that Teresa was reading as if she was reading her mind. Jessica's voice becomes deeper and Teresa freaks out and screams at her to stop. The girl suddenly collapses on the floor and starts vomiting and squirming before passing away. Teresa checks her pulse and the girl suddenly wakes up and grabs her hair, then pulls her scalp off. Outside, Caleb sees Teresa in a horrifying state and sees Jessica approaching. The girl had a demonic face. She goes to grab the flying drone and smashes its fans against her face. She falls in the lake and Caleb jumps after her. Soon he is back on the surface of the water, screaming in pain, then gets dragged down and blood appears. The water explodes and the head of the boy is thrown next to the terrified Teresa. Soon Jessica reappears as she comes out of the water and rises in the air, slowly floating closer. The day before, in Thailand, Beth, a guitar technician, does a pregnancy test that apparently came positive. Next, the girl is back to the US, where she visits her sister Ellie, who is a tattoo artist, and learns that she is struggling and will soon have to move out. Beth spends time with her sister's crazy kids. Everyone is happy as she brought them gifts, but after bringing up their father, they all look down. The woman asks what's wrong. After sending the kids away to get pizza, Ellie tells her that her husband left her and she is mad that she couldn't reach her when she needed her help. The woman apologizes, saying that she was concentrating on her career. After they calmed down, Beth was about to share the news with Ellie of her pregnancy, but suddenly there was an earthquake. The kids, who are just back, run to hide as the earthquake gets stronger. After it stopped, Danny discovers a hole had appeared in the parking lot. The boy looks down using his phone flashlight to discover what it seems to be an abandoned bank vault. He looks around and comes across a dusty box. Inside it, letters and papers and a picture of 3 priests. The boy also finds a vinyl disc collection and suddenly he hears a strange noise as something is watching him from the shadows. He put the discs in his backpack and was about to leave when the noise repeated again, louder, and that Jesus' cross almost crushes him. The boy discovers a part of the room that was full of crosses dangling above an altar. A crack appears on the side of the structure. Then he finds something wrapped inside a cloth. When trying to uncover it, he is attacked by a swarm of cockroaches and the boy sees the strange book before him. After going back, the kids find their mother scared. The news talks about the 5.5 earthquake while Danny shows Bridget the book that he found, saying they could sell it to help their mother. The girl says that the book was locked away, probably for a good reason, but then ignores her and tries to force the book open and gets hurt by the teeth that acts like a lock. Drops of his blood fall on the book and are immediately sucked in and the lock opens up. Danny opens the book and looks through the pages, full of horrifying images. Bridget gets scared and closes the book, saying that he must take it back. The boy says that his mother won't let anyone out tonight after the earthquake and promises to take it back in the morning. The girl leaves and Dan is back browsing the book. Beth, who's about to give a bath to little Cassie, has stomach cramps and is comforted by the little girl. In his room, Dan takes out the first vinyl disc that dates from 1923 and plays it. He adjusts the speed until he hears a group of men chanting in Latin. A man by the name of Marcus Littleton, who appears to be a priest working as a library keeper in the St. Patrick Cathedral, reveals to his colleagues that he had got his hand on the notorious Naturom de Monto, the Book of the Dead. The crowd is driven into frenzy as he reveals that the book was made of human flesh and and written in blood. As his colleagues scream heresy, the man asks the church to give him permission to translate the book. The other screams for him to destroy it, but the man says that it was for the good of humans. The recording ends and Dan goes on to play the second part, where he learns that after his proposal was rejected, the priest and two of his colleagues secretly worked on translating the book. He learned that the book helps one contact supernatural forces and goes on reading passages of it. Dan quickly tries to stop the vinyl recording, but it wouldn't stop. The incantation is played out loud, and we see outside something approaching while growling. The book pages turn on their own, while the entity attacks Ellie in the elevator that starts going up fast and suddenly stops. The woman drops on her face. Dan sees that the book stopped on a page showing a woman. Ellie then wakes up and tries to leave the elevator. Then she notices that she wasn't alone and she gets pulled by something. Then she hears a growling. Soon the woman is attacked by the cables that wraps around her, crushing her arms. The lights goes out in the apartment and the recording stops playing. Dan closes the book and Bridget notices that all the other buildings outside had lights. Beth looks around for her sister but doesn't find her. Soon the door opens up and she sees Ellie as she walks in. The woman heads immediately to the kitchen where she starts acting strange. After asking her if she was okay, the woman begins to tell them about her dream where she opens their body up and climbs inside them. The woman soon regains control over herself and tells them that the entity is inside her. Soon she begins squirming and vomiting and asks Beth to stop the entity and protect her children. Then she collapses. Beth and Dan take the woman out, but seeing the elevator destroyed, they try to head for the stairs that they find were destroyed too. Ellie dies and Beth takes her back to the apartment where she tells her neighbor Gabe about what happened. Gabe tries to close the woman's eyes, but they open again on their own. Mr. Fonda, her other neighbor, says that there is still no signals. The man points out how Ellie's face looks as if she was beaten up. The two men then try to get to the fire escape ladder while Beth stays and talks to her dead sister, wishing she could hear her voice again. Suddenly, a voicemail plays on Beth's phone and she hears Ellie's voice asking her to help her, saying that she was burning alive. The phone breaks and Beth starts hearing strange noises behind her. She turns and finds Ellie had her eyes open. She blinks and looks at Beth, who is freaked out but glad her sister was alive. Seeing she had a strong fever, they quickly put her in the bathtub, but the woman starts spasming and squirming in pain, then suddenly jumps from the bed and starts crawling on the roof. She lets out a powerful screech that breaks the apartment and boils the water, then suddenly falls back in the bathtub. She soon comes out with red eyes while smiling. The entity now has full control over the woman as it comes after Beth and Dan, armed with a mirror piece. It attacks Beth, stabbing her in the hand, but Bridget intervenes and it stops and turns to face the girl, who wonders what happened to her mother. It tells her that she is now free from them, then attacks her with the tattoo gun. Dan slams his mother with the chair. Gabe arrives and is shocked to see the woman alive. She suddenly attacks him and bites off his eye. Beth then quickly locks the apartment door and puts a chain on it, while Ellie knocks on it with her head. The knocking stops and Beth sees through the peephole her sister attacking the neighbors and killing them one by one. Inside the apartment, Bridget tells Dan that her mother looked like one of the pictures from the book, saying that it was all his fault. Beth stops them from fighting and Dan shows his own to the book and the vinyl discs and tells her that it all started after the priest spoke the cursed words. Casey hears her mother singing her favorite lullaby. Bridget checks her wound that was getting worse and starts hearing a strange voice. The pages of the book begin to turn again on their own, while a black substance comes out of the girl's nose. The book stops at a picture of a girl with something coming out of her mouth. The black substance starts pouring from Bridget's eyes, ears and mouth. Then she starts vomiting rotten piles of maggots. Casey looks through the peephole and sees her mother, who tells her that her dad came to see her. The girl is tricked to open the door and Ellie grabs her neck. Beth and Dan arrive and save her. Then Beth closes back the door. There was a loud noise from the kitchen and Beth goes to check to find Bridget squatting on the kitchen table, eating a glass and saying that she wants to kill the worms inside her. She soon attacks Beth, who fights with her until she knocks her down. Dan arrives and Bridget goes after him. She follows him into his room where she tries to get to Cassie. The girl holds the stick in her hand up and it goes through Bridget's mouth and pierces her head. The girl pulls the stick out, then collapses dead. Casey is scared, but Beth promises to protect her. Back in the room, Beth finds that Dan has wrapped Bridget in a sheet and tied her corpse. Beth wants to listen to the vinyl. Really? After all of this? She says that she could find something to stop this. The boy says that they have no power to use the turntable, but the woman, who was a guitar technician, fixes the machine. She gives Dan a knife and after locking herself inside the room alone, goes on to play the third disc. To be careful, she uses the headphones and listens to the priest as he talks about his disastrous experience after uttering the curse words, warning those after him that the book cannot be destroyed and those who are possessed cannot be killed. Meanwhile, the possessed Ellie notices the air vents. Dan and Casey then hear the noises of her crawling through them. They fail to notice Bridget behind them. The girl attacks them covered in the sheets, but Dan saves Casey and stabs Bridget with the knife, but it doesn't work as the entity attacks him again. It pulls out the knife, then stabs him in the arm. Ellie sneaks in the room with Beth, who learns that the only way to stop the possessed is to completely dismember them. Bridget spews blood all over Dan and stabs him in the chest while he sets her on fire. Beth learns that nothing worked for the priest, who says that all you can do is run. The woman sees Ellie's reflection behind her. She is attacked and thrown around. Beth sees Dan in a critical state. The boy asks forgiveness of his little sister for dying. The entity holds Beth down and sniffs her body to discover that she was pregnant. It was about to drive her claws into her stomach when Casey threw Beth's scissors that she used to stab Ellie in the face. The woman grabs Casey and they leave the apartment. Beth tries to open the fire escape and soon Ellie is back after them. Beth then grabs Mr. Fonda's shotgun and blows her leg off. She tries to shoot her head off but misses. Dan and Bridget come out and start crying next to their mother, but soon their cries turn into hysterical laughter. The possessed starts saying that everyone will die by dawn. The woman gets inside the elevator that starts to get flooded with blood, while outside Bridget and Dan dig through Ellie's stomach. The book shows the image of a person with arms coming out of his stomach. Ellie disappears through the vents while the other possessed chant "No way out." Beth and Casey are attacked by the entity with multiple arms while drowning in blood. The elevator crashes, but the two miraculously survive. The woman then gets to the car in the parking lot, and after opening the gate, Beth tries to drive away but the car is stuck. The two see the monstrosity behind them approaching and leave the car and hide away from it as it looks around for them. Beth and Casey run to the gate that was closing and get underneath it, but Casey gets caught and she's dragged by the entity. Beth breaks through the gate quickly and runs to save the little girl who's about to be decapitated by the entity that has the heads of her family members and an empty slot for hers. Beth shoots the creature that faces her. The woman then trips and falls and is grabbed by it and is about to be thrown inside the shredding machine, but she is saved at the last second by the little Casey. The woman grabs the chainsaw and tells Casey to turn the shredding machine on. The woman then stabs the creature with the chainsaw and pushes it inside the machine, where it gets torn into shreds. Beth holds Casey and after grabbing the chainsaw, the woman leaves the building. Soon we see Jessica coming out of one of the apartments. The woman, who suspects nothing, goes down to the parking lot where she makes plans with her cousin Teresa to head to the lake, referring to the event from the beginning of the movie. After the call ends, the girl finally notices the blood outside. She looks around and she's freaked out, then suddenly gets attacked by the invisible entity. And with that, we reach the end of the movie. What do you think about today's pick? Leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.